Sales reps are notorious for not keeping CRM data up to date. At FlexRule, we're going to use process robotics, decision automation, and data composition to help them out. We're building a model here, and the first thing we do is drag in a REST API. This is going to give us authentication into Salesforce, the example we're using today. So we create our REST API. Over here on the right, we now have to configure that to be able to gain access and pull back the required information. Once we have that, we put another REST API in. We can now use the token here to log into Salesforce and retrieve all of the open opportunities for this sales rep. Again, we have to go over to the properties and we fill in all the properties to retrieve back the information around open opportunities. What we can do now is say, well, what other data we might want to look at? In this case, say we're providing a SaaS service, so we're going to pull in some SaaS activity data from our database here. We might also want to know how the customer's going with help desk tickets. So in this example, we're actually going to use Zendesk. And what we're doing here is, again, it's an authentication REST API where we can log into Zendesk. And the idea here is we want to pull out the history of tickets that the customer has been placing to see, well, has that been going up, coming down? How satisfied are they with their products? This is a proxy for that customer satisfaction. Now, we don't just want open tickets, we want all the ticket information, so we're going to pull that in. We'll show you how to configure the database again in the properties. We put in a connection string. We've got to tell it what sort of database it is. We can use anything. We're using SQL here, but it could be a custom. And once we have that in, we're going to add in query, and we could have multiple queries here. We're just going to put in a simple query where we're pulling back information from the customer out of the SaaS database. Now, working with our data analytics team, once we have all that data coming in, we've built a customer health score check, if you like. Now, what we've just added in here is an information requirements diagram, and what we can do at FlexRule when we open up this document, you'll be able to see that we can actually pull in all these different operators to do different sort of compositions on or transposition on that data. And then what we can do is output that data, and we can even put in equations. In this case, we've done a very simple one to create a health score for each customer opportunity. We're going to use that later in the decisions. We close that down, we go back to our flow, and now we're going to pull in the decision automation. So with the decision automation here, we first of all drag in a decision requirements diagram. And this puts in like a decision tree, decision dependencies. So when we open this up, we can see that the top decisions dependent on first finding out what opportunities need updating. Let's open up that model. Inside that, we can see if the contract value is over $1 million, hasn't been updated for 14 days, add it to the list. Once we now have our list in there, we can feed that list into the next set of decisions. And in this decision, we can use contract value, sales stage, current probability, health score to work out what should be the probability, what should be the close date. Now, once we have all that information, we want to send it back to the rep. So we're going to feed that back as a list back to, say, the rep's got a web app. And here the rep can now look at all of the open opportunities that need updating in one spot. They can get a recommendation based on our data analytics for the probability and the close date. So now we're getting consistent business decisions being made. The rep just has to click confirm, and that's now going to update all of those opportunities in one go. So again, a REST API here, and now we're going to do an update into Salesforce of what the rep's accepted. And once we've done that, all we now need to do is put an end statement, and then that's the end of the whole process.